Welcome to my YouTube channel. It is called Garden Dreams and Other Things. And in this first video, I want to talk about what my channel is going to be about. And I first want to start with the early years of gardening here on this property. This is Mom and Dad's property, and I want to talk about that. So when we were kids, in our neighborhood, everyone had a garden. I mean, I don't know of one house that didn't have a garden, and it was mainly for produce. So my father would till the soil each year, and our job as kids was to go out and find the rocks that he had tilled up and put them in a pile on the right-hand corner. That's just something that really sticks in my mind, how many years we used to do that, and it was usually hot and uncomfortable, but we would follow Dad behind the rototiller and do that. He loved to raise corn and beans and carrots and potatoes, and we would help him in the garden with that. The main thing that we like to do is just go barefoot in the dirt. And then when the corn got tall, we like to run through the corn and chase each other. And Dad loved having that garden. It was very practical. It was something that he enjoyed doing. He really didn't care much about flowers. Mom, on the other hand, loved flowers, and they're both from Puerto Rico, so you can imagine what it was like for her growing up on a tropical island and the contrast between there and here. So she was always adding flowers to the garden and trees and bushes and trying to make the place beautiful, where Dad was focused on the produce in the garden. So you have that contrast of him and her. And then as the years passed and we as kids grew up, we went our separate ways, and the garden began to change, because then it was no longer necessary to have a produce garden. And they began to create more of a little place that they could enjoy. Dad loved to have apple trees. Mother wanted a hammock in the garden, and they loved to sit in the shade, and Mother liked to walk through the flowers each year. She at one time had a goldfish pond to help her put that in, and had a little screen porch, and it became an oasis not just for Mom and Dad, but for us as adults, and the grandchildren also loved to come over here and play in the garden. So it was a great place for the whole family. So we had gone our separate ways, and then that became the oasis for them. Eventually, I came back to the area, and I began to help them in the garden, and it was a great learning process for me then, because there was so much to learn about how Mother did her flowers, how she throughout the year, how she liked to do her flowers. It was just a great learning process for me. And I enjoyed that, in addition to enjoyed sitting in the shade. We had some uncomfortable days in the heat of the summer, but it was just a great learning experience. And in all that, I want to tell the story about the banana plants that you see behind me, because Mother, of course, in Puerto Rico, you have banana plants everywhere. It was something that she grew up with. She really wanted to have a banana plant here in Tennessee. And so eventually she found out, I think, that she could order one. So she ordered one and had it brought here. And we planted it, and it did well. And actually, in this position on this side of the house, they seem to do well. So she planted that, and others sprouted up alongside that. But what we found out is it was not winter hardy. So what we had to do then in wintertime was to dig it up and put it in the basement. And over the years, we ended up with 7 or 8 or 10 of those banana plants that we would have to dig up and slide them into the basement. It was a lot of work. I didn't like doing it, but she loved having those banana plants. Eventually, she found a winter hardy version, and we were very excited about that. And as we began to use that, we didn't have to use the other ones. And the winter hardy did so good here. And all you have to do with that is after the frost in the fall, the plant dies down. You just put mulch over it and the leaves, and leave it there throughout the winter. Our winters are mild here, so they did really well, and in the spring they would come back up. And they would actually begin, if that plant had been there for a year and had died down, then it would begin at the same process of where it ended its growth. And so in 2 to 3 years it would have a bloom that was supposed to have bananas, but either the season here is too short, or they just don't do well here. We could never get bananas to grow more than that big. So, but we didn't care about that. It was just the fact that we had banana plants here, and Mother loved that. And I was so thankful to have those instead of the other ones, and it cut back on a lot of work. And so the plants that you see here are the result of the very first winter hardy banana plant that we put. There were no others put in. From that one became these. that was at least more than 25 years ago. So it's great to still have it in the garden and still have that connection to that. The other thing that it reminds me of is that we used to travel in the summer to go see my grandparents in Miami, and they, of course, were in the tropics, and they had in the backyard had a banana grove. And the great thing about that, we could go in the backyard and play. It was cool under the banana trees, but you would also see the actual banana bunch, which was huge. I mean, it was about 3 feet tall, and if we, depending on when we came, you could see some that were almost ready to cut down, and we got to see my grandfather do that, and we thought that was really cool. So we have a lot of good memories with that, and I'm so thankful to still have it in the garden. Well, Mom and Dad have passed on now, and the garden is mine. And so I'm trying to keep the things that keep the memory of them here. There's a lot of things that Mother put in the garden that are really precious to me, and they're healthy. They're still healthy and good. They're older plants, but they're still good, and I want to keep them in the garden. But I'm going to create a garden that I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to find the things that I like to put in, the colors that are favorite to me, and while still keeping the things that remind me of them. And I want to create basically an oasis that I can enjoy, but not only for me, but for my family, for my brother, for my sisters, for their children, and just and keep the memory alive of Mom and Dad. So in getting inspiration for my garden, I could look through books and look on the internet, even go to other people's YouTube channels that about gardening to get ideas. But really the best thing to do is get outside of my little box and get out in the world. And I live near a lot of great places to visit, near the Blue Ridge Parkway, and there's plenty of parks here and the lakes and waterfalls to go to, a lot of great scenery to see. And I want to be able to do that, but I also want to get beyond that and go outside of this area, down south of Florida, to the East Coast, even go to the West, and meet other people who are involved in gardening, and go to arboretums, just whatever is available for me to get inspiration from, I want to pull from and get those ideas, and try to incorporate some of those in my little piece of the world that I have in the back of my yard. So that is the other things part of Garden Dreams and Other Things, is to get out and get inspiration from outside of my world. And I'm looking forward to that journey and that process, looking forward to meeting new people. And you can join me on the journey as you watch my YouTube videos. I'm also available on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe on my YouTube channel. So we will see you next time in a different destination.